Welcome back to the One Officer Success Partner. I'm your host, Devin Dubuque. And today, guys and gals, I have got somebody really, really special. One of the founding owners, I butchered it already. One of the founding owners of Highland Mortgage, director of the Truth in Lending team, lead originator, named one of the top 100 female originators in the Scotsman Guide 2024, and the #1 female originator in the great state of Georgia. I've got Laura Witte. Thanks for coming today. So good to see you.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be on.
Absolutely. Well, I heard you speak a few weeks back on the Redder Morning Show, and I was like, man, I got to get you over here. You've done some amazing things in this industry, and I think we're at a point in time where people need to be inspired, right? People need to know that there's a way to build great production, even in 2025, where we sit today. And you showcase that and very, very well. So thanks for joining us. Let's empower some people today.
Hey, let's do it. Yeah.
So one thing I always like to talk about is just get to know you a little bit. And I know you're in the great state of Georgia. Are you from Georgia originally?
Now, I grew up in South Florida, actually, and left when I was about 19.
Okay.
Kind of traveled the country in a van, trying to figure out what kind of like, little hippie-ish, trying to figure out where
I see like a VW bus at some sort.
Not as cool as that, but it's
Right.
probably like a Ford. Yeah, I ended up in Atlanta and never really left.
That's pretty cool.
Just love it here. Yeah.
So is it Florida straight up to Atlanta, or did you get a chance to bounce around a little bit first?
I drove across the country and back.
Yeah.
For about 6 months.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I was 19. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I ended up in Atlanta because I ran out of gas money, and I I just ended up opening a business with someone at that time, and we did like sales trainings.
That's wild. Well, you were a nomad before it was cool to be a nomad, right?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
Exactly.
now that's like
Pre
a thing.
iPhones.
Yeah.
I had to use a real map and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
You weren't blasting anything on social because there was no social.
no GPS.
Yeah.
No nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, your map was literally a foldable map, right? Like
It was. It
you
was.
get to the state lines and you're like, okay, I got to get another map before we get to the next state, right?
Yes.
I remember these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the current generations have no idea what's a map, and you have to
How to use a map.
Yeah. So I remember we used to plan it out, right? We get the atlas and pull that thing out, and we'd plan out our trips. But I do also remember as a young kid with my mom going state to state and like, oh honey, don't let me forget to buy a map.
Yeah.
So,
Those were the days.
they were. Well, talking about a map, we're talking about a map for success here today, right? And that's 100% what it is. So you land in Georgia and you start a business, and you said something about sales training.
I did. I did some sales type stuff, and believe it or not, a little bit of hypnosis type stuff. I did something called NLP.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Neuro-linguistic programming. For many years, it was kind of a mild obsession of mine, and tried to learn as much as I could from it, and did like seminars and trainings for it. I was new, so I just kind of co-trained and helped organize it. But it was something that I use even now to this day. I've incorporated into who I am. I always try to educate myself. I never went to college. I'm self-educated.
Yeah.
So I just always try to learn, still to this day, something new. There's always something new, especially in our business.
There's always something new, but in addition, you talk about NLP and programming of the mind, right? And what that is just, positive self-talk and, manifesting things, by believing in yourself. So there's a lot more than that. But at the end of the day, that's just a piece of it. And you've done that, right? So you land in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're doing some training. You get into NLP. And how does this lead into mortgage, right? Like at what point in time do you land over in this space?
Yes. So I was staying up late after the various jobs I was doing at the time to just try to make, a living at 24. I guess I was probably about 24, 25, and was newly married. And my husband at the time said we should buy a house. And I come from, a single mom, teacher. We barely had food,
Yeah.
kind of, household. My mom worked her butt off
I know that
to
life.
feed us. Yeah. So buying a house was like not in my world.
Right.
We lost our house in foreclosure when I was younger.
Yeah.
So that kind of always stuck. And I had moved like every year, almost every year, my whole life, every year or 2 years. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try to buy a house. It wasn't something that I thought I could do.
Yeah.
And I went to a bank and they treated me like crap. Horrible experience. I mean, I didn't know, I wasn't, my mom did a great job raising us, but we didn't know a lot about financial stuff.
Right.
So I didn't know what credit was. I didn't know about scores. But I did know that I could learn very quickly things. Like I grew up with a growth mindset. Now I realize that I grew up with a growth mindset now that I've read about growth versus fixed, which I highly recommend people, look into and read about.
Yes.
There's lots of good stuff on YouTube and podcasts and stuff. So I said, well, I can do this for a living. Why not? Let me at least do this and do my own loan because I just was treated so poorly.
Yeah.
So I went and got a job as a loan officer.
That's it.
And here I am 26 years later.
You know what's funny? I hear that often on the real estate
A
side.
lot that happened in between.
Yeah, I hear real estate agents often saying, "Hey, look, just the service I got was not great," and that's. But I don't hear it on the originator side as often. So it's really interesting that you said, you know what, people need to be doing this better, and I'm going to make that happen. The other thing I want to touch back on is just, Laura, you talked about having an abundance mindset, but you also talked about reprogramming the mind. Right.
Yes.
You grow up with nothing. And I come from that too, right? My mother was a school teacher and, she put herself through her master's and, did everything she could to help, educate me and put me in the right direction. But we struggled often, and, at the end of the day, sometimes if we are taking what we learn from the ones that brought us into this world, we may not get that far. Right. But if you take the time to go out there and re-educate yourself, and you mentioned YouTube, I mean, in today's world, what a great opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Literally, there's so much great information that's all right there. Make sure that you're listening to somebody that's qualified first, right? But as long as they're qualified, do what it takes to reprogram your brain because we can accomplish a lot of things, right? If we just take the time to, go out there and learn and then put it to action and build something epic. So that's where I'm with you. So you're beginning stages in the mortgage industry, right?
Yeah, I will tell you that I've, looking back on things, I've learned that because I didn't have a traditional upbringing with college, I barely finished high school. I skipped 2 years of high school. That I didn't know what I couldn't do. I wasn't told you can't do this.
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, let me go start a business. Okay. I didn't have people saying, oh, that's not possible.
Right.
I think that that's also important is that sometimes we need to unlearn what we think our limitations are.
Yeah.
Right. Because people are like, oh, I only do X. If we're going to count life and mortgages and success is not just, loans that you close. Right. But like, if you're going to count, I only do 2 million a month. Well, if you believe that, that's what you're going to do.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, you were asking me.
No, I love that. Well, again, this is what it's all about, right? You've done some amazing things with your career and we want to help empower people. And that's one of the things I think is super important is, don't have a limiting belief, right? You didn't have one because nobody ever set the limitations, right? It's as much as your mind could think. And sometimes, if you are of that behavior, you can retrain your brain, right? And learn how to have an abundance mindset and a belief in yourself that you can accomplish whatever it is that you truly want to accomplish. It does take hard work. You got to roll up your sleeves and you got to put in the effort. So let's talk about that. So you jump into the industry and you're going to change it, right?
Yes. I'm going to change it. I jump in the industry. I got a job somewhere where I very quickly learned these people had not the morals that I wanted to be working at. And they made me like sales manager, like 60 days in. And it was one of those shops where people are like getting letters that say, call me as soon as possible about your mortgage. So it was scare tactics.
Yeah.
So people would call me scared, freaking out, angry, and I was supposed to calm them down. So I did that. And my first month, I probably signed 19 loans and like half of them closed because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I decided that there were people that were being taken advantage of. It was, the Wild West. It was
It
before
was.
all the stuff happened, the TRID and the
Yeah.
crash and everything. And I would hear people, oh, I made 6 points on them. They have terrible credit. And I was just disgusted.
Yeah. High
So I
fiving in
just,
the background, right?
yeah, high
Yeah.
fiving. Yeah,
Oh,
just
you'll
like,
never
yeah,
believe what just happened. I made 2 on the front and 5 on the back, right? Like,
right.
yeah. No,
It was
I
just
yeah.
terrible. So I became what I feel like an advocate and a protector of people and still feel that way. And
Amen.
I was starting to, I ended up leaving that company pretty quickly, but I was starting to probably get fired because I was telling people, oh, it's not good for you to do. This
Yeah.
loan is not good for you to do. And they're like, no, we're in the business of selling loans. And I'm like,
Mm.
this is not good for them. So I'm not doing this. And it
Well,
was,
I love that you said that, because, similar background here. I came from a direct mail concept and, clients calling onto us. And, there were a lot of loans that I would look at and I'd be, this isn't going to be the right loan for you. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And, what's funny is, sometimes when you put that out there, and I don't know if you experienced this too, but I did, like I'd reach back out and say, look, I've done the review, you do qualify, but to be 100% with you, this loan doesn't make a lot of sense for you. It's only saving you this much money a month. The rate's going to be here, and that's not an attractive rate. And, yes, you'll get a little bit of cash back, but I highly advise it. Did you ever have somebody that said, I still want to do it?
yeah, I
Yeah.
have occasionally. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's things that we don't know sometimes, like I just had a conversation today with somebody that was similar.
Yeah.
It turns out their HELOC's about to go.
Mm,
This is going to happen, guys, by the way, loan officers, people that have HELOCs, some of those terms are 5 years and
they
they're going
are.
to turn into principal and interest and
Yep.
people are going to go into payment shock.
Yep.
So this woman, so we were talking about that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the other, you're saying all these awesome things and it's making me think of things. So you can't assume or put your own opinion on people. If you don't feel like $30 is enough to save a month,
Yeah.
but somebody else, that's like their gas money for the month
That's
or
it.
whatever, you have to like read the room, read the people
Put
and
yourself in their shoes.
put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
And if that's going to help them to skip a payment and save 30 or $40, then let them refinance, but you've done the right thing by letting them know
Exactly. Yeah.
maybe
And,
it's
and
not
I
the
just
best.
mentioned that because I came across it a few times where, more than a few, right? Where I tried to, in sense, talk them out of it, right? Like, this isn't going to be a great transaction for you. And I don't think we should do it because of this. But they said, but Devin, I'm in a lot of trouble, right? Like, things are tough
Huh?
for me right now. And this would be a lifesaver. And so then you kind of have to re-gear it and go, well, let's do this then. If we're going to move forward, right? And this is back subprime days, right? So we're not quite in subprime days anymore. But at the end of the day, it was like, so let's do this then. Let's 12 months from now, we're going to get you out of this loan. We'll call it a Band-Aid. And
Yeah.
ultimately, but don't
Yes.
do these things because I want to be able to get you out of the Band-Aid, right? Like, I don't want you to not be able to qualify. And sometimes I was able to take those same customers that, weren't in the best position and then put them into an FHA transaction
Hmm.
and, reduce their rate substantially and put them in a great place, right? So, but I love your mindset, which is, we're not doing this for a quick buck, right? We're doing this because we want to help people. And when you lead in with that, huge things happen because here you are now, an owner of a business, the number one agent in the state of Georgia, one of the number one female agents in the Scotsman Guide in the country, right? And it's because you lead with your heart and lead with teaching people the right thing. So let's get there. So we're away from this horrible company that's trying to take advantage of people. And where do we go next?
So, what is it? Out of the frying pan into the fire. I
Yes, it
went
is.
to another broker shop. Nice people, great company, but it was right before the crash and, or right couple years. I mean, it was in the heart of all the stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
And two loan officers that worked there committed fraud.
Oh,
And I was like, I can't, this is really frustrating. Like I want it, like I like this business. I want to stay here. So they were closing and I don't even know how much time, 2 weeks to open my company.
no.
And it was like really intense. So
Yeah.
I had to think of a name. So I was thinking about what do I do? And, I was so tired of all the lies and the people just around us that were just doing so much crap, and not helping people. So I came up with truth and lending.
Yeah.
instead of Truth in Lending. And then I opened my own company, which I had for 10 years. Um, and and this was pre-crash, but I charged fairly and treated people fairly. That was my marketing. And I did pretty well. I was the number one lender, broker in the state my second year. And I was the first female in the state, like to be number one. I was also pregnant for 3 years. Never underestimate the strength of a pregnant woman.
That's right. That's right. Big things, right? Well, you've got a mission, one, get the baby out. And two, you gotta make this business happen. You've got to have a great way to be able to support your new baby. But at the same time, from what I get from you, you want to be able to support the people and give them what they really need, which is somebody they can trust, right? Somebody that they can lean into and say, I trust Laura because she's not doing this for a quick buck. Number one, you priced yourself, aggressively to where, you were priced right for the market, priced right for the consumer, right? But then you gave them honest answers, even if they didn't want to hear it, right? Like, no, this is why it doesn't make sense for you. And I want to make sure that what we're doing for you is the right thing. So lead in with the heart, guys and gals, right? Like lead in with the heart. And that's what's going to build a long lasting business. You will put your name in the Scotsman Guide and be accredited for being number one in your industry. This is the kind of stuff that a true professional does, right? So Laura, let's peel back the layers a little bit. So we know where you got your start, and we know that you did a lot of hard work and a lot of truth and lending to get where you are today. But what else? Like, what else do you do? Like, what is it that really has helped you build your business and keep you, as successful as you are in today's market?
Yes. So I think that for me, failure is not an option. It's just not. It's something that if something's not working, I'll just try something else. I don't give up. And it is harder. It's gotten harder. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. We're not in the easiest business.
Don't lie. This is raw right here. That's how we do things.
This is raw.
This is real life.
Hard.
Yeah.
This business is difficult, but it's very rewarding, and you got to be all in. I mean, they talk about, that's something they talk about in NLP and all these other motivational mediums that you use or learn. And it's being congruent with what you're doing, being 100%, you're either in or you're out. So if you're not sure you want to do this, then get it
You're already
right.
out. You're already out. If
you're already out. Exactly.
You're wasting time right now. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you're thinking, man, I don't think this is right, or this, go. You have to, because you're doing yourself a favor. You're doing yourself a disservice lying to yourself every day, because until you buy in and go all in, you're never going to have that success that you want.
Right. Exactly. Very well said. Exactly. You have to be all in, and you have to be, I'm not saying I'm never emotional, because I am very emotional, but you can't be tied to what you do and how you do it. You need to be open to feedback.
Yeah.
And you need to be okay with that. Like, okay, this failed. All right. Feel bad for 5 minutes or an hour. Give yourself that time, and then keep moving. You can't get stuck in what color blue your marketing's going to be. You can't get stuck in this person went to a bank. I know. I'm telling you, I've been there.
No, I believe it.
What color? What font should this be?
Yes.
3 hours later.
I've had the same questions. We just redid the logo, right? And at the end of the day, it's like a lot of thought goes into that, more thought than anybody else cares about, right? The thought goes into it. But I love what you're saying, though, because when we're kids and we fall off the bike and we skin the knees, what do our parents say? Hey, just get back up and keep going. It's okay. You fell off one time, but you're not going to fall off every time. Get back on the bike. And that's what you're talking about is, when you have a tough moment, somebody takes a loan to a credit union because they have insanely low pricing and you missed that deal, right? Or something that you did just didn't work out the way that you wanted to. You can't stop, right? You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah, you have to, and you have to approach it like that as well, because, I hear a lot of people talking about making 100 calls and making all these, meetings and this and that. But if you don't believe that you can do it, then you doing it more isn't gonna help you.
Just turn up the frequency of something that already sucks.
Right. I mean, you gotta save some time.
Yeah.
You could call 10 people. I can tell you, if I called 10 agents right now, put me in the middle of Iowa or
Yeah.
Ohio, all 10 agents would talk to me. Now, would they all use me? I don't know. Maybe not, but who cares?
What's
Some,
that
most of them
conversation
would.
sound like though? Right? Like you're brand new in a new state
Yeah.
and you're doing some outreach. How would you approach them? What
Yeah.
would that sound like?
I would say, this is what I said. Well, okay, this is what happened, right? So I was new in a new area. I had just gotten a divorce and I moved into downtown Atlanta and I wanted to be in the city. And I went to a broker, an agent, and they had a office in a coffee shop. And I thought, that's cool. They're renting an office space. I want to go in and rent that space and then I'll like get their business and all this stuff. I was pregnant when this happened.
Okay.
And I went in and I interviewed with the guy and it was horrible. It was one of the worst interviews I've ever had. I failed miserably. I was in my car crying. I was emotional. It was horrible. I was very pregnant, probably 8 months. And I thought, well, that sucked. I screwed that one up. And I thought, but no, I want this. This feels right. I need to be in this office. I need to do this.
Yeah.
So I called the realtor back and I said, look, I messed that up bad. I failed. It was terrible. You have every right to never talk to me because of that. I screwed up. But that's not me. And I didn't do that well. And can I do that again?
Yeah.
Can I have a do-over kind of thing? And I just explained to him, I mean, I was going through a divorce. I was pregnant. All this stuff was happening.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
You
And
let
the
him
guy
have it.
was, the guy was like, okay. He said yes. And I was in that office for 8 years and I
Great.
built my business, very well with these people. And it was great. I learned a lot about what to do and what not to do. But I guess the point I'm making is that no one is going to believe in you as much as you do.
Yeah.
And you have to start from that. That's the starting place is that, because I feel like people waste a lot of time doing things that they think they're supposed to do in this business and that they read and they're told they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think so.
I do too. No, I agree. Or they just, it's all theory and they don't actually get out and do it, right? And skin the knees and actually do the work. I think it's one or the other.
Yeah.
But
to answer your question, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, but let's get to so what do you say? What do you say?
What do I say? So this is what I said, and this is what I would say. And this is what I do say to people. Now a lot of people know me, so it's a lot easier, right? But a lot of people don't. So, and then here's my spiel. And I don't, hi, I'm Laura Witte. I've been doing this for this many years, or maybe I wouldn't say that if I was new, I would say I'm with so-and-so. I am in this market. I am in this market and I plan to stay in this market. And I am going to do business with you, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next year.
Yeah.
So whether you use me now or next year, we're going to work together.
It's happening.
So you might as well choose when you're going to work with me.
I love that.
I mean, I would say something like that. It's so arrogant, kind of.
No, it's great. You know what's funny? It's one of them that I use this one with our team, and I teach our team this one. It's very similar, and it's, hey, is this Laura? And you're like, yeah. Hey, Laura, it's Devin. With Premier Lending. Hey, I was reaching out because I keep seeing your name pop up. It's hard to miss you. You're doing some really great things in this industry, and at some point in time, you're going to get a contract that slides by your desk that's got my name on it. Right. Yes. And I would rather you know me than not know me, because we both know if you don't know me, you're going to encourage your seller not to accept that offer. Right. Yes. But if you know who I am, you're going to go, oh, that's Devin. I know that guy, and I'd love to spend 15 minutes collaborating just to get to know you a little bit more. Would you be able to call, maybe do a coffee? How's that sound?
Yes.
Right? So
exactly.
They're very similar approaches.
Yes. Very similar. And most of the time I'm being funny or silly, or I'm like, I am not the most professional person. I don't wear suits. I don't, use fancy words. I just talk to people.
Me either.
And, this is me. And I think people just really be yourself. People relate to people that are just really kind of who they are and
it's not
authentic.
A script. Yeah, it's authentic.
So I mean, exactly. You said it too. Whatever way you do it, you guys have two examples of people that are using that, and it's not it's not like a thing. It's who we are because Devin, you're very authentic. This is
Right.
who we are, and it's the truth.
Yeah.
You're in this market. You are whatever market you're in. That's where you live. You do business. Maybe you have kids in the community.
Yeah.
Maybe you do things because I do a lot of things with the school. People know that I support my neighbors and stuff, and I do that because I want to do that. Is it good for business? Sure. It's great for business. But
Right.
do I do it for that? No, I do it because I want to support the community and I know it's good for business. Like you have to do things that are authentic and real to you,
Yes.
and people will respond to that.
That's it. Well, we say it literally, probably every show, it probably comes up, and people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if you're coming up with some canned spiel that doesn't sound like something that you would actually say, they're not going to have any trust with you, right? So why would
Yeah.
you want the first part of that conversation to be something that wasn't just genuinely authentic? At the end of the day, if they're a great agent, you want to connect with them, that's true. You're doing some awesome stuff, and I'd love to connect with you. If you're in the industry and a contract might slide by their desk, right? Or as Laura said, you're going to do business with me at some point in time, may as well
Yeah.
be now, right?
Yeah.
That's authentic, right? And it's direct. It's letting people know that, hey, I want to work with you and we're going to do it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm kind of funny, kind of silly, but I don't, I think that, I think people, also loan officers, I'm kind of like segueing to this here. I think loan officers forget and sometimes get too fixated on agents. Agents are great, realtors are great. There are so many other lead sources
So
out there, and I am constantly trying to like go in that direction past your current clients. Don't call them past clients because they're your clients, they're your clients. So current clients. Um, and divorce attorneys, CPAs, neighbors, community, people in the community. I've been getting leads from therapists on people that are working through stuff and need to do something with their home and their credit. I mean, there are so many different lead sources. Don't
Yeah.
get fixated on agents, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's super wise because at the end of the day, people are typically going to go where they feel like the business is. And we know agents tend to have the business, but there's
Right.
so many other resources. And, your clients in general, like that's such a great sphere. And your friends and family, remind people what you do. And by the way, guys, not that I should have to say this, but you're taking advice here from somebody who year after year is a massive producer in this industry. Like you've set the stage. It's not a fluke. It hasn't happened one year. It's year after year after year, even in some of the toughest markets, you're at the top of the game, right? So, what are we talking about here? Be authentic. Be
Yeah.
true to who you are. When you make a mistake, and I love that you said that, hey, that sucked. I think I could do better, right? In fact, I know I could do better, right? Because people are
Yeah.
human and they know that you're going to make mistakes from time to time.
You can't be tied to your mistakes and your successes either. You got to keep moving. Like, oh, I did great. I mean, great. You're going to do it again. Keep
Yeah.
going. And you might have a bad month here or there, but it's not about that. It's about, the long game. This is a business with the long game,
Thank you.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think, you mentioned something right there that's so smart, right? Because a lot of people in this industry, they want to measure their success by what they made this year. And that's certainly a measurement that we need to have. But if you look at your measurement of success over all the years, right? What kind of income have we made here? Like I can tell you right now, you mentioned, you didn't finish high school, college. I also didn't finish college. And I can tell you that I've made income that rivals, doctors, attorneys,
Yep.
as well as even some professional athletes, right? And I've seen your report card. I know you could say the same thing.
Yeah.
One other industry allows for you to do that. And, don't measure just what's happening this year. If you're not where you need to be, get up and do something about it, right?
Yeah.
Go out
Sure.
there and make yourself present in the industry. And let's do this because, I know I can't keep you here all day, Laura, right? I'd love to because I know you've got such great wisdom and people need to hear it. But what's a great piece of advice that somebody could take away from this?
I don't know, this reminds me, if you're into sci-fi, this reminds me of a movie. Never give up, never surrender. From a movie.
I love it.
I mean, You gotta give, I think one of the biggest things I do is I give hope, and I have hope because that's how I was raised. Like tomorrow's a new day. The sun will come up tomorrow. I saw Annie when I was little, and that's stuck in my head. It's like this day sucks, but thank God tomorrow is coming.
We're going to end
And
on some movie quotes.
we're just throwing movie quotes out here. I was
I'll
an
put you on the
80s
spot.
child. We had great movies in the 80s.
We did. It's true.
Yeah, no, you gotta have hope, and you gotta give your clients hope, because that's really where people, especially right now with the market like it is,
Yeah.
People still have to move. I mean, yes, the rates are where they are, and who knows what tomorrow will bring, but there is business out there. If you don't believe it, you're not going to see it, right? If that's like when you look for a car and you're looking for a red truck, all you see are red trucks.
That's it.
Okay, so your red truck is your success and your clients, and there's business out there. There's so much business that you're not saying because you don't believe it. So you got to start believing that it's out there.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the biggest thing is just open your eyes and your heart to the possibility of that you could be successful in this business. And if you don't want to be here, then find something that you like to do. Yeah. And that's okay.
Dropping a little NLP in there, right?
Just a little bit.
You've got to be able to see it, right? You've got to be able to envision it. It's like, it sounds crazy. It's like, see yourself closing the loan and high-fiving at the closing table, right? Project that. See yourself having great communication with the agents that you want to connect with and building those relationships. Like, visualize that, believe that it's going to happen, and you will make it happen, right? But you've got to go out there and you've got to take action. And that's one thing that I always talk about, Laura. In fact, it's our number 3 core value, just behind family and passion, because you got to be passionate, serve families, right? Is action. You got to get out and take action, right?
You absolutely have to still hustle.
Yep.
You have to. You got to have the hustle. You got to have the fire in your belly. You absolutely do. That's very true. Yeah.
I love it. Well, when the people out there want to find you, we know you're in Georgia. What other states? Is it just Georgia, or do you go outside of Georgia?
I lend in, I don't know, 30, 40 lots.
Yeah, you're in a few places.
Few places.
It's more likely that she can serve you than she can. So if you're a client, you're a borrower, and you're out there listening, and you love the idea of an honest lender, of course, truth and lending, right? Then you're going to want to reach out to Laura. And like I said, multiple states. So not just in the great state of Georgia, just give her a ring or look her up, and she's probably going to be able to help you out. But what's the best way to get in front of you? How do people find you, Laura?
So I'm on social media, Truth and Lending, TRUTHAND Lending. If I could give my phone number, I don't know. My cell phone is 404-456-8291. And email is Laura@Truth and Lending. So any questions, feel free to reach out.
It couldn't get as straightforward as that, right? Truth and lending, and easy to find. And you probably should. And what about if a loan officer, it needs some advice? Are you open to that? Can somebody reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, I truly appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, I was super inspired, when I heard you speak, and I thought, man, let's keep a good thing going, right? Let's get out there and let's do some collaboration. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for sharing some wisdom. I think we're in a day and age where people need all the inspiration they can get, and keep going, right? Keep pushing, take action, and be yourself, right? Be authentic. That's what people want right now. I was talking to somebody before I jumped on here, Laura, and what he said was, we're in an era where people, I can't remember the word phrasing he used, but where, authenticity is kind of a dying breed, right? And that's all you talked about. You've built your massive, business off of just being authentic. So take that into consideration. People need somebody they can trust right now. Be that person. Be that guiding light.
Thank you, Devin. Thanks for having me on. This was great. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that's going to wrap it this week. So thank you for stopping in, and just know that we'll keep bringing great people like Laura. Of course, you want to find Laura, grab that phone number down there, grab that email and look her up. You're going to be glad if you connect because she's amazing. But if you want to touch base with us, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, DM, and keep coming back. We're going to keep bringing great content every single week. So until the next time, we'll see you then. Take care, guys.